Hello, my name's David Bainbridge. I'm one of the two admissions tutors at St Catharine's College in Cambridge University. Obviously, we're very disappointed that you can't come to in-person open days this year, but hopefully this video will give you an idea of what life at St Catharine's might be like and why you might want to consider applying to us. So, how do you make the college choice and why might you want to apply to St Catharine's? One of the most important things to realise about Cambridge colleges is that they do much more than just provide a bed for the night. They're very important in your academic progress. First of all, they do small group teaching, this very distinctive form of teaching that we call supervisions. In each of your major subjects or topics or papers, every week you will have a supervision. And in this, you'll be in a group of 2 or 3 or 4 with an academic from your college or appointed by your college. They will set you work, they'll go through it with you face to face, and this year, a few years of this constructive criticism of your work is incredibly valuable. It's one of the reasons that our students make such fast progress here. Of course, supervisions are also your chance to ask more about bits of the course that you either didn't understand or that you simply want to know more about. Another important person from college is your Director of Studies. They're really your academic mentor for your time at Cambridge. They're the person who makes sure you get your supervisions. They're the person who you go and see if you're having trouble with your academic work, and they're also the person who will send you a nice message if you do very well in your exams. They're also very important in the admissions process. It's important to realise that large chunks of the admissions process are conducted in colleges. So whether you apply to a specific college or not, then that college, a college regardless, will initially consider your application, and the Director of Studies, as the subject expert, is probably the most important person in that decision. At St Catharine's, we think a lot about our admissions process, and we try and make it as transparent as possible. We like to have very clear reasons why we interview the people we do and why we make offers to the people we do. And we would always use the university's typical offers, conditional offers, except in very unusual circumstances. The second thing that colleges do is they're responsible for your pastoral care and support. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think Cambridge has the best pastoral care system in the country. I am what's called a college tutor. All students who come to us are appointed a pastoral tutor, and they're really your first point of contact should you have any problems not directly related to work. So anything to do with, well, general ability to work, but also financial problems, health problems, family problems, whatever. Your tutor's often the first person you come and see. And I've noticed with my tutees, it's a rather strange name because your tutor doesn't actually teach you, and indeed at St Catharine's they won't be doing your subject, that when we've worked through problems with them or sent them off to people who we think that can help them, how many of them come back to us later and comment just how much support there was for them within the university. Now, of course, you don't know if you're going to need any of this pastoral support, but it's always reassuring to know it's there. I think if you asked most students why they're pleased they came to be a student at Cambridge, they would probably actually say, because you get to be in a college and it's really good fun. It's quite hard to explain what is so enjoyable about being a Cambridge student. Being in these small units of maybe 130, 150 students each year, that we take up 135 a year, for example, with the college staff and the college academic staff as well. It's just a sort of all-immersive, very enjoyable, almost 24 hours a day experience. Many of the friends that people make in their college end up being their friends for the rest of their lives, and I think many people think that being in a Cambridge college was really one of the best experiences of their lives, and hopefully some of the resources you can look at online by our current students will convey some of that enjoyment. St Catharine's is very lucky. We're right in the middle of Cambridge. We're on King's Parade, Trumpington Street, next door to King's and Queen's and Corpus Christi. You couldn't get any more central than that. And we're very lucky in that we have some beautiful college grounds for our students to live and work in. Accommodation is something that you probably should look at when you're deciding between colleges. Our first year students live on our main site in the middle of town, which is the picture on the left. And then importantly, all of our second years stay together and they all move out and live together at St Chad's, which is the picture next to that. That's out on Grange Road, just 10 minutes walk away from the Central College site. Indeed, it's actually closer to quite a few of the university departments than the Central College site is. There they live in flats of 4 or 5 people, and I think many of our students think this is the best accommodation they get during their time with us. In the third year, all our students return back into the central site, and in the fourth year we do house our fourth year students, but we may not be able to tell you exactly where that is until nearer the time. If you're doing a longer course, then look on our website for information. Room rents are on the slide for this year, for the current academic year, and hopefully you'll think that they're fairly reasonable. Of course, Cambridge students have access to Cambridge University facilities, but actually many of the facilities that students use are their college facilities. We have, for example, academic facilities. We have 2 libraries. We have a sort of glass and wood pyramid that's more modern, and then we have a beautiful old, centuries-old library, the Sherlock Library, this top left picture on this slide, perched up in one of our older buildings. Libraries are very important to you as a student, not just as a place to work, but also because we do what we can to get as many of our undergraduates' books in to save them having to buy them, and that really can save you a great deal of money. But we have resources for fun things as well. We have a modern bar, subterranean soundproof beautiful bar. And we also have a sports ground out on Grantchester Meadows near the River Cam, where you can play rugby or hockey or football or whatever. We also have tennis courts, we have squash courts, and also a badminton court. We do know that about 10% of our students apply to us because we're the college with the all-weather hockey pitch. We also have resources for computing as well, and also for music. All of these things are important parts of being a student. Just to give you some perspective, this is a picture that I cut and pasted from Google Maps. The top right star is the location of St Catharine's, right in the middle along the north-south running Trumpington Street. The top left star is St Chad's out on Grange Road, so you can see it really is very close to the centre. And the bottom star is our sports ground out near a bend of the Cam at Grantchester Meadows. So, how do you make a choice to apply to a particular college? Well, you don't have to. You can make what's called an open application. If you do that, your application will simply be distributed to an individual college who will then consider you as if you'd applied there. Personally, I think it's quite nice to have a look around, decide which college you have the look of, and apply to that one. So what criteria do you use when you're choosing? Well, you might want to decide whether you want to be in the middle of town or whether you want to be further out. You might look at the accommodation that's available. Look particularly at the accommodation that's available to students in the second and third years. Are they all kept together, for example, in those years? There are a few things that aren't so helpful. Size of the college. Most of the colleges are about the same size. They take about 100 to 150 students a year, so that's not much help. There used to be published league tables. For various reasons, they weren't very useful when they were published. They're not even generated anymore. And finally, rather than sort of listen to sort of reputational things you may hear from often students who are here quite a long time ago, it's probably just best to have a look on websites or look at the resources available created by our own current students. Have a look at websites. Obviously, unfortunately, this year you can't come and have a look around, but do the college seem supportive in your subject? Do they take your subject? Most colleges take most subjects. Finally, many people just sort of nose around on the internet and they just find a college and they look at all the materials and they just think, I just like the feel of this one. Yeah, I think I might go for this one. Now, you mustn't worry if that's the only reason you've got for applying to a college. That's absolutely fine because you get the same academic experience, the same academic support at every college, except, of course, we think everything at St Catharine's is going to be slightly better. Just a few things to think about before I finish. First of all is we're very eager to widen participation in higher education. There's 2 reasons for this. One is simply because obviously it's fair. The second is that we want to draw the most able academic students from as wide a pool as possible, and only by widening participation can we achieve that. How do we do that during the actual admissions process? The first thing is, as soon as you apply, we get various contextual information about you. We learn things about your school, like their usual A-level performance and things like that. We learn things about your home postcode area, like the participation of local people in higher education. Increasingly, we'd like to learn more about you individually, so we're trying to get more information on things like free school meal status or whether our applicants have ever been in care. One thing that does apply specifically to the individual is the extenuating circumstances scheme. There's a special page set aside for this on the Cambridge Admissions website. Basically, if there's a reason why you think your education has been disadvantaged or interrupted, you get your school to fill in a form for you. If you think you're eligible for that, please do have a look at that page, because if you don't tell us this information, we'll just never know any of this was the case. Finance is important for students. Obviously, we know that for most students it's the largest financial undertaking they've ever made. Cambridge University is actually, contrary to what you might expect, one of the less expensive universities to go to. There are various reasons for this. College rents tend to be fairly low. You can have a look on our website for full details of our rent bands. At St Catharine's, you don't pay any rent in the holidays, and those holidays are relatively long because the academic teaching terms are only 8 weeks. Accommodation contracts are normally for 9 or 10 weeks, but that still leaves you a long time in the vacation when you're not paying rent and when you could, if you want, be doing paid work. Your travel costs as a Cambridge student, well, you may need a bike, but once you've got a bike, they should pretty much be zero. You can walk or cycle everywhere. Cambridge is quite a compact city. As far as food is concerned, most students do a mixture between self-catering on their college staircase or landing, and others, they do a mixture of that and informal cafeteria-style dining in the college hall. Of course, occasionally people go the whole Hogwarts and put on their gown and go and have a formal dinner, but those are relatively uncommon. Like most cities with a large university in the middle of it, some of the things in the city are tailored towards the student budget. Things like clubs and some shops and things like that. Not all of them, but many of them are. But of course, that will be true of many university cities. Finally, and very importantly, there's a wide array of financial support for our students, ranging from the large, very well organised things like the Cambridge Bursary Scheme, which is effectively a payment. You don't have to pay this money back based on your household income. Cambridge has a similar entrance bursary scheme, so look on our website for more details of that. The college also has ad hoc financial bursary funding for students who get into financial trouble, but we also have financial support for fun things. We have money for travel for our undergraduates and sport and music resources as well. So again, look on our websites for more detail about that. Just a few more comments before I sign off. The first thing to say is it's very important to us and the university that we don't lose UK students because of financial reasons, and we don't. We are able to stick to that aim. Many people ask us about where our offers go and who our students are. 10 to 15% of our students are from outside the EU. 10 to 15% of our students are from the EU. If you take the rest of our students, our UK students, usually about 3/4 of our applicants are from state schools, and an almost identical number, usually about 3/4 of our offers are made to students from state schools. So your chances of getting into St Catharine's don't seem to be affected by the school type that you're attending. Do bear in mind, unfortunately, as with most of the top selective universities, entry into Cambridge is competitive, and we do get a very strong field of applicants every year, so unfortunately we do have to turn away some able applicants. However, I would suggest that you be positive about applying. We also know that everybody's been disadvantaged by the coronavirus outbreak in 2020. We do know that this will have affected your work this year, it will have affected your exams this year. It may affect your work and your exams in the coming academic year as well. We're also particularly worried that coronavirus may have exacerbated existing disparities in educational opportunity between our applicants. So just bear in mind that we will be considering this through the next applications round. Do be positive about your application. Many people applying for university, in Cambridge especially, don't think they have much chance or don't think they're going to stand a chance or they're any good. But that is not our experience. Many of our students who come to us didn't think they were going to get in. So do bear in mind it's just another place on your UCAS application form. Finally, don't stress yourself. Don't feel that by applying to Cambridge you're putting this tremendous extra load on yourself. It is just another university. Apply to us and see how you get on. All I can say for certain is if you don't apply, you definitely won't get in. So with that in mind, it's just worth saying that you're very lucky. You live in a country with many excellent universities. If you apply to us and get in, obviously, we'd be very pleased. If you apply to us and are unsuccessful, chances are that you'll be able to go to a different excellent university.